Joe Burrow has every right to speak. He can say whatever he wants. If he has his opinions, he should be able to speak it. He shouldn't be using the NFL platform to speak it, but if he wants to use it on a podcast, if he's on podcast or he's adding some interesting content on a podcast, I think he has every right to speak up for himself and some of the players that he obviously is standing up for. The problem right now is there are a lot of ex-NFL players that don't like this. There's a lot of ex-NFL players that are jealous of guys like Joe Burrow that's making $55 million a year. He's the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Well, him and Trevor Lawrence are the highest paid quarterbacks right now in the NFL. And this guy, who's only been in the NFL for 4 years, hasn't been healthy. He's been healthy for 2 out of the 4 years. So this guy has been in the spotlight his whole career, from all the way from Ohio State, where he never got a chance, to go to LSU and became the number 1 pick in just 1 year. And now everybody's taking shots at him. And it's not just Daniels. There are other people on social media saying that Joe Burrow should not be speaking for us. Joe Burrow should not be saying these things unless he comes to the NFLPA meetings and he speaks to all the players that are involved with the NFLPA. Now, Joe Burrow is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. There's no argument to that. And anybody that argues that is an idiot. And Cincinnati's an organization that has not really had a lot of success. If you look at the success over the last 30 years, the closest thing they had was with Boomer Esiason. And that was against the 49ers in the Super Bowl, which they lost. So they haven't had a lot of success, and they finally go to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago and lose against the LA Rams. So I understand the way Burrow is speaking. Burrow knows that if there's more games added, there's more money. And if there's more money, there's more revenue for players to make money. And he's a quarterback that's making $55 million, and he's probably thinking, hey, you know what? In 5 years, I'm going to be a free agent again. I could be making $75 or $80 million with the extra game added and all the TV endorsements and deals and sponsorships that they can get from that extra game. So, yeah, he's looking at it in a bigger way. But, again, there are other NFL players. There are linebackers that are beating up their bodies. Quarterbacks are sitting behind the line of scrimmage. They're not getting hurt. They're not getting most of the time, the only time they get hurt is they hurt themselves. Their foot gets caught. Their cleat gets caught in the turf. They tear their Achilles. They tear their knee. Very few times do you see over the last couple of years a quarterback get hurt because they were hit. That's the truth. They get hurt because they run out of the pocket and they hurt themselves. So the linebackers, they're getting torched. Look at the running backs. Look how the beatings they get behind the line of scrimmage. They're not even getting the contracts that they deserve because they're dispensable. That's the way they look at them. They don't want them and they don't need them. After 3 years, they can draw him free and clear and draft another guy in the 5th or 6th round that could do the exact same thing the other guy can do. That's the way they look at it. But that's the wrong way to look at it because, again, the NFL looks at quarterbacks. Quarterbacks go down like crazy. How many times a year does a star quarterback go down? At least 3 or 4 times. At least 3 or 4 times a star quarterback goes down on one of these teams. Last year, I could name Joe Burrow was one of them that comes to mind.
Kirk Cousins
was another. Aaron Rodgers. Those are 3 right there that I could call out right now. There were more than that, but those are 3 of them. Every year, a quarterback gets hurt. And it's besides Tua getting the concussions, most of those injuries. Now, Joe Burrow, he hurt his finger by hitting somebody's helmet by throwing the ball. Aaron Rodgers, he hurt himself. His cleat got caught into the grass when he got hit, and his knee went one way and his Achilles popped.
Kyler Murray the year before, too.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins, too, hurt himself. He didn't get hit.
Daniel Jones, too, was non-contact.
Daniel Jones, too. These guys don't get hurt like that, but you have linebackers getting beaten up. They're tearing their pecs. Offensive linemen. Look at Elijah Vera Tucker tearing his pec because he's trying to block for his quarterback.
Look at Trey Greenlaw in the Super Bowl, just trying to walk on the field.
Yeah. These guys get hurt, but they don't make anywhere close to the quarterback because the quarterback position is the most important position. I don't want to hear it from the quarterbacks. I want to hear it from the other players. I want to hear it from the running backs. And people actually listen to the running backs. Saquon Barkley deserves to be treated like those quarterbacks. You're going to tell me Saquon Barkley is not as important as Daniel Jones was when he was on the field? He absolutely was. Go look at the Giants' record when Saquon Barkley isn't on the field. It's a losing record. That's why a lot of these players don't like when Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes. You don't see Patrick Mahomes going out of his way and saying things. You know why? Because Patrick's smart. Patrick only cares about what's going around him, what's going around his team, and how many Super Bowls he's going to win. Tom Brady was actually like that too. It was a few times that Tom Brady would get on the mic and he would open up and say anything that's going on in his locker room. He would never say anything. And when they would ask him Bill Belichick questions, nobody knew what was going on until now. After the dynasty and all the different documentaries, nobody knew what was going on in that locker room. Some quarterbacks step up to the plate and open their mouths, like Joe Burrow, and as well as he deserves to, because he's one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league. But sometimes you got to stay back and wait until somebody comes out with something. Another player comes out with something and says something. A star player at another position say, I agree with him. I agree with him. I agree with that offensive lineman. I agree with that wide receiver. I agree with that corner.